Good sticks, everyone. Welcome to the Captain Avalanche Fancast, your unofficial source for all things Colorado Avalanche hockey and more from a fan perspective. Hosted by me, Captain Avalanche Corey, and MacLeod's on the Olympic squad, Dom. Now, we're no insiders. We're not inside the locker room face-to-face with our favorite players, but we hope to create a relatable and welcoming environment because we're just like all of you listening. Fans with a deep passion for the game of hockey, and in this case, the Colorado Avalanche. Happy New Year, everyone, especially to the person who just dropped us a follow on Spotify. Happy New Year to you specifically. But just like that, it's 2026 and another year of hockey has come to an end and a new one is just beginning. However, our season is still in the swing of things. The Avs are closing in on their next 10-game win streak, and so is the Buffalo Sabres. So we'll revisit an old segment to dive into some more Avalanche dominance, the Avs and the Av-Nots. But before that, the Olympic roster for Canada have been revealed for not the U.S., because I thought it was going to be today, but no, that's going to be Friday on the Today Show, where I'm sure they will mispronounce every single player's name who they have to say. I don't know whose idea that was, but I don't agree with it. I wish they would have just revealed it today along with Canada, and then we could have judged them both. But for now, I guess we'll just split it up. We're going to go over Team Canada's Olympic roster and give you our thoughts. Dom is going to help us check in on the other major world hockey tournament going on right now, the World Juniors, and then we'll dive into the tank as usual. We have more crazy stats for your fun back today, and lots more ramblings on this episode of the Captain Avalanche Fancast. I had to fight for my life just a second ago because the Avs have just scored goal number 5 on the power play, no less. So that was really hard to keep contained while I was reading that intro. But Dom, Team Canada, I'm hoping you did what most of us did and looked at it with glee and then disappointment at the start of the day. Well, let me clarify. Not total disappointment. Lots to be happy about with this roster, but definitely perhaps some questionable choices in certain areas.
Yeah, certainly so. Happy New Year, everyone. But choices, maybe part of it is I think some of us were expecting simultaneously more change from the Four Nations roster and also less change, if that makes sense.
I know exactly what you mean.
Especially think the goalie choices. I think the goalie choices in particular are definitely, shall we say, dated. I think the evolution of the events of the season thus far, and we're at nearly the halfway point across the league, I just don't feel like it's representative of who the 3 best Canadian goalies are today.
Well,
in particular.
Yeah. So I will say this. Logan Thompson deserves it 100%. There was such a funny post that says Logan Thompson and Jordan Binnington have a combined 13 point some odd goals save above expected. And Logan Thompson had 26 goals save above expected, and Jordan Binnington had minus 13. So Logan Thompson with, yeah. So Logan Thompson with this tournament, I think, has more than deserves the fact to be the starter. I don't disagree with Logan Thompson. I don't even disagree with Darcy Kemper. I think stating the obvious here as I pull off my glasses in disappointment, I disagree with Jordan Binnington. And that's not even from obviously the Homer perspective, that I think a lot of people also agreed that Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood, or both, deserved to make this Olympic roster. And I disagree with the notion that, you're bringing certain guys because of past actions. Totally understand that Binnington was a big piece in Canada's win at the Four Nations, but, and this goes for the entire roster, I believe you need to be bringing the best players right now. Right now. Jordan Binnington, no offense, does not deserve to be on this roster. He is not the best goaltender for Canada right now. And I can't lie to you. As I watched this Blues game, which first of all, I was hoping they would start Binnington. They did. And they started Blackwood. And this was a point that I was hoping would be made here. The Avalanche have dumped 5, technically 6, on Binnington. 1 got called back. They scored 5 of those goals in less than 4 minutes. So I really do hope that GM Doug Armstrong, who is also the GM of the Blues, is watching this game right now. Because what the fuck are you doing? Not to mention, actually, no, I'll get into that with like forwards and stuff here in this point with forwards and stuff in a second. But I did really want to touch on these goaltenders because I agree. I think Logan Thompson, Darcy Kemper, totally valid. Darcy Kemper has been great this season, and he's been great last season. He was a Vezina candidate. He's been very solid for a defensively stingy LA team. Blackwood or Wedgwood need to be on this team. And just to kind of wrap myself up here, somebody was saying that, well, no one expected Wedgwood to be, astronomical or out of his mind. And yet here we are. It's like, yeah, here we are. He's one of the best goaltenders this season. And something else stupid that somebody said was, oh God, sorry, my brain just short-circuited. Oh yeah, that because Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood are on a really good team, that's why, they're doing so well. True as that may be, first of all, they're talented regardless. Mackenzie Blackwood was talented before he came to the Colorado Avalanche. You could see it when he was with the Sharks. He was amazing on a really bad Sharks team. Would you say that to be true, Dom?
Yeah, here actually.
Wait. Let me just
really
finish this thought before I lose it. And so if you're saying that Scott Wedgwood and Mackenzie Blackwood are really good on really good teams, does that then therefore mean that they would be good on the best possible roster? That point makes zero fucking sense to say. If they're really good on a really good team, Team Canada is about as good as you can possibly make it. What the fuck does that? It just, first of all, they're good anyway, but then to say that just supports the fact that they would be great for this team. Sorry, Dom. Go ahead.
No, all good. So I think we're all in agreement here that, or you and I both, all of us, all 2 of us are in agreement that the only roster that could make the Avalanche look bad is probably Team Canada with just that depth. It is unbelievably incredible, insane. It's just unlike anything else that any team in the NHL can put forth because a salary cap. That's really what it comes down to, is salary cap. You're telling me you can have Sidney Crosby, Macklin Celebrini, Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, and Cale Makar on the same team at the same time? I'll say, yeah, right. You can't ever do that in the NHL. So that's one. I agree with you there. Backtracking a little bit, I do agree with Thompson. He is the one that I thought was a shoo-in. I think for me, Kemper came 4th on my list. I would have both Blackwood and Wedgwood in here. Wedgwood has earned it, and Blackwood has the talent. And when you're talking about, oh, they did all this on a good team, like you were saying, Corey, I have up here a post from Rob Williams. So I want to give him the credit when he went to moneypuck.com. And among Canadian goalies, guess who leads goals saved above expected per 60 minutes?
I'm going to guess either Scott Wedgwood or Mackenzie Blackwood.
It's Blackwood with 1.039, then Thompson at 0.87, Kemper at 0.714, and Wedgwood at 0.703 goals saved above expected per 60 minutes.
Gee, what a fucking shock.
Leads all Canadian goaltenders in the league by like 20 percentage points. That's what's crazy to me, or maybe it's more like 15, but still. Point is, he isn't even on this list. I think Binnington is the one where I know you and I were joking about it. He only plays well when he's got a maple leaf on his chest. So Toronto, go out and get him. But I don't know. I don't think he deserves to be on this roster. Like you said, Corey, I agree with you about that. And we'll see if he proves us all wrong and does it great again. And that red and white maple leaf fun.
I hope I don't even have to be proved wrong. I hope he's not the starter. He doesn't deserve it. I mean, his season is a disaster class. I'm watching it unfold before my very eyes right now. Granted, this horrid start for the Blues this game was not all on him. Absolutely not. It was a full team effort. The Avalanche were utterly just flying, and the Blues looked like they were shell-shocked. But it is upsetting, and Blackwood himself said, he wasn't even contacted by Team Canada. Even he said he was a little surprised. And I mean, all athletes have a bit of an ego. I mean, why wouldn't you? But hockey players have always done well of keeping it in check, keeping it humble. But I won't be humble for you, Mackenzie. You've been an absolute fucking dog this year. And to be snubbed is just, it's bullshit. It's just straight up, without being analytical about it, is bullshit. And it feels a little bit like, you're only selecting them because they were on the Four Nations, or you're only selecting them because he plays on your team, Doug. So let's dive into, I think, the other positions here. Let's talk about some good news for a moment, and that's Macklin Celebrini has very deservedly made this roster, especially after his game today, even though he had a bit of a gaffe. But fuck, I would have rioted. I would have been beating down Doug Armstrong's door, as I'm sure you would have, had Macklin Celebrini not made this Olympic roster. The youngest player ever at that.
I was offended on his behalf that it was even a question. Like, I get why Bedard is a question. He's been out for a while, and so is he going to be healthy in time? Is he able to play? But when Celebrini, every night I watch a Sharks game, has a new stat on the television of what he has done that is in the realm where it's only Gretzky and Crosby and that's it, and he's in that elite class, yet another stat that he's only with them. And you're telling me he was even in question to be on the roster? The disrespect. I mean, let's talk a second really quick. I'm just going to take my moment here to hype up my guy and say, when we think of MVP, and I know he's not leading the league in points, he's not doing what McKinnon or McDavid's doing. He's close. He's chasing them. He's doing the best he can. But compared to the next closest player on the Sharks, on his team, that differential is the largest in the NHL, I'm pretty sure, from first to second for points scored on any team.
You are correct.
So when you think of an MVP of a team, he's taking a mediocre Shark squad and just dragging them with him, putting them on his back. The top line is producing something like 80 or 60. It's like 75, I want to say, % of goals that the team has. I don't have the setup in front of me, so I'm guesstimating here. I did see it earlier today, and I just don't write it down. But the fact is he is the reason the Sharks are even in a playoff position now going into the new year and in the hunt and everything. So the fact that it was even a question, that's what I'm trying to get back to. Even a question is disrespect. And I hope they don't disrespect him and stash him on a different line. Put him out there with Crosby, please. I keep seeing things that have him on a different line, and I'm like, no, he wants to play with Crosby. He needs to play with Crosby. This is the combination you want. Put McDavid and McKinnon on a line together. We've seen it. It works. Put Crosby and Celebrini on a line together and figure out the rest, because you can put literally anybody around either of those pairs, and it's going to work out great. So that's my quick tangent about why it was even a question. And congratulations, Macklin. You absolutely deserved it. And all fans, I think all hockey fans, but especially Sharks fans, are very happy for you and proud of you.
Yeah, you'd be proud of me, because while I obviously still would love McKinnon to win his next Hart Trophy, I was having a good conversation with my mom today about Macklin Celebrini and how he factors in on 55% of the Sharks offense. So, I mean, and, you've added on to that the fact that he truly is the driving force behind the Sharks' success this year. And now they found him the big winger in Igor Chernyshov, who we'll talk about here in a little while. I got to see that skill on full display. So that was pretty cool.
I'm so happy you got to see that, because I did. I've been so excited since his first game. I know I've been texting you little clips and highlights, and I'm like, man, this kid is good. This play with Celebrini, even when Smith comes back, and boy, am I excited. Here's your new perfection line coming at you for the next 10 years.
But I disagree with you a little bit. The line that I actually want to see is obviously Crosby and Celebrini. I totally agree with you in that regard, but I want to see Crosby, Celebrini, and McKinnon all on the same line because they already had that chemistry building at the World Tournament or Men's Worlds before. And I just think that Celebrini, the people that he's modeled his game after the most, have been both McKinnon and Crosby. And Crosby's kind of the mentor for both MacLeod and McKinnon. And that line would just make sense to me, where Crosby's obviously the old dog. McKinnon is the one in the biggest prime right now. And Celebrini is just that youth injection. I think that would really jumpstart, I think, two of the best players in the world even more. So I really do want to see, I think, that combination. But I think Celebrini, with his absolutely monster hockey IQ, could play well with anybody that you put him with. But I think he needs to be with the highest skill guys. He needs to be up there, not down low mucking it up with somebody else. He needs to be there with the best of the best. So yeah.
I mean, I'm with you. I was saying McKinnon and McDavid on a line just for balance.
That'd be fucking
But if you're telling me the best combination of three players,
that's a cheat code,
that
bro.
is balance.
McKinnon and McDavid on the same line is enough to make like other grown men shit their pants live on ice.
Well, so is Celebrini and Crosby, or Celebrini and McKinnon, or McKinnon and Crosby. Like, that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. Like, you have four guys who arguably any combination of three of them would be the best line this world has seen.
Yeah, true.
Like, you could pick any combination of three out of those four names, and no matter what, it's a perfect line. So I'm with you. It's going to be poetry in motion. It's going to be beautiful to watch. I talked to my buddy CP, Sharks fan. He was at the game today. Shout out to CP. Had a great time there.
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt. CP might want a different nickname.
Huh?
Well, that's short for Christian Paul. So,
well, good for Christian Paul. It's short for a couple other things too. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying Christian Paul's a bad guy. I'm just saying he needs to think about these kinds of things.
Be nice. He's my friend.
I'm not
He's
saying
a Sharks
anything,
fan.
man. Okay, just go on.
Anyway, I was saying it to him, and he and I both agreed that the one thing in this world that can make me not root for the United States is he wears teal, and now he's going to wear that maple leaf at the Olympics. And we agree. Nice. In any game that is USA Canada, we have to stay loyal. We have to stay true. But every other game, we're rooting for Canada. Hell, Canada should probably win the whole thing, and so we're kind of backing them all the way, even if we're not backing them in a head-to-head, if that makes sense.
Join us, Dom. Join us. But yeah, I do want to touch on a couple other forwards and defensemen here. In terms of, I think I want to talk more snubs. I definitely think I could say some names that I would rather leave off, and I think some names that I would have rather have seen. Now, it was interesting that you talked about Bedard and his injury, because I think everybody saw some news today that was kind of shocking. At least to me, it was kind of shocking that they said Connor Bedard's injury was not a major factor as to why he was left off. And to that, I say, why then what was? And this is not to trash on Celebrini at all. At least it shouldn't seem that way. But with as dominant as Celebrini has been this season, so has Bedard for the sake of the Blackhawks. Bedard was in top 3 in points at one point with McKinnon. And the only reason he's not producing with the Blackhawks now is because he's injured. Now, if they had told me, yeah, his injury was the primary reason he was left off Team Canada, totally. But I by no means think he has an incomplete skill set that wouldn't have worked on Team Canada. Do I think Celebrini has a slightly better skill set than Bedard? Yes, but do I think Bedard still would have deserved to be on Team Canada based on his accomplishments this year, looking at him relative to Celebrini? Yeah, I do. And to say that the injury wasn't a factor makes me question what would it have taken? I mean, again, top 3 in points for a good majority of the season. What else would the kid have to do? So I think that's a bit of a snub, and I'll go ahead and say the other two here, and then you can jump in. As Stars fans, we agree on one thing, and that's I actually do think, Wyatt Johnston should have been on this team. And the reason why I think he should have been on this team especially is power play ability. I mean, fuck, the kid has more power play. It was either goals or points than the entire Maple Leafs roster. And he's left off the roster? And then finally, of course, Mark Scheifele, who apparently is the only person on the Winnipeg Jets who can score. He very much deserves to be on this team. He deserved to be on Four Nations when he was a snub, and he's a snub now. And I think it's bullshit in place of guys like fucking Brandon Hagel and Anthony Cirelli. No offense to either of them, but I think that there were better choices. I think Bo Horvat or even Mark Stone here. Mark Stone has the highest points per game this season, but only because he's played so few. I do think Bo Horvat deserved to be on this team. I thought Nick Suzuki absolutely deserved to be on this team. And I think Tom Wilson did a lot to earn his spot as well. But there are a couple guys here that it's like, okay, you just put them on here because of Four Nations. And Seth Jarvis! Give me Seth Jarvis! Everybody loves Seth Jarvis. That's bullshit that he's not here. Fuck you! All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm with you. First of all, with Bedard, I just say bullshit. And they said it's not because of the injury, just to stir the media pot. Because if they say it's because of the injury, they're going to get criticized and say, oh, put him on the roster anyway as an alternate, and then if he's healthy or whatever, or you have alternates, put him on the roster so then he could play. So I think they're doing that just to stir up the pot and also avoid certain other questions down the line with Bedard being not chosen purely because of injury. But I think we all know there is absolutely no legitimate excuse other than the injury for why Bedard's not there. So I agree with you. Hagel, I agree, I think is the most replaceable first guy I would take out. Cirelli, I think, is maybe number 3. I don't think Mark Stone should be on there. I don't think he's been healthy enough. I agree. I want Seth Jarvis on this roster at a minimum. And honestly, if you're telling me the switch for Mark Stone as the second one I'd probably take off was him versus like Sam Bennett, so you still have some size. Yeah, they both missed time. Yada, yada. I'd rather have Sam Bennett when we think to Four Nations, honestly. But again, I know there's so much more that goes into these decisions. I think this is the one issue when you are Canada and have an embarrassment of riches, is that no matter what happens, you're going to anger some people, but you're going to leave somebody off the roster who's deserving, because if they were born and a citizen of another country, they would probably be on that roster. And it's just Canada. It's just that deep of a team, of a country of players. But like you, I agree. I think Tom Wilson absolutely has been having a great year, deserves to be here. Suzuki, I honestly would have been just as mad if Suzuki wasn't on there as Celebrini, because I think he is underrated playing for Montreal and that line and what they're building up there. But Suzuki, I think, is a huge facilitator of that success. And Johnston, I do agree as at least an asterisk or something, because he is leading the league with 14 power play goals.
Exactly.
By himself. Yes, you have all this depth in this great team. Then you have the power play guy. So you're better at 5-on-5. You have the defense to be better at 4-on-5. Get the guy who is just an ace in the hole when you're 5-on-4. And call it a day, right? You cover all your bases. I think he's a better option than Cirelli, than Hagel, like we said. I do think Bo Horvat is an interesting one because of how the Islanders are doing this season. I haven't seen enough of their games to say how much credit he deserves for it, but I know he has been playing well. So he's one for me that I was kind of on the fence on, and I didn't want to speak on because I didn't know enough. But I do feel like if needed, he could be the type of guy that I'd probably say I'd rather have Johnston.
Yeah. And I mean,
certainly would rather have Jarvis too, by the way. I can't state that enough. Seth Jarvis is the biggest snub from this roster.
Truly. And I mean, again, to me, it's about picking who are the best players right now. And some dipshit was like, and I mean, it was in defense of Celebrini. He's like, you have to build the Olympics for the future as well. No, you don't. Macklin Celebrini is going to be on the Team Canada for forever now until he retires. You're not building an Olympic team like looking forward to the future. That's stupid. You are picking the best team right now, the best players right now. And let's be totally honest here. If he hadn't already been selected, Braden Point wouldn't be on this team right now. No offense to him. He's been an amazing player all of his career. He is having a down year, but not one that is up to his standards. And when there are other players, I think, who are more deserving of that spot, I'm sorry, if you're not the best player right now, goodbye. Now, let's move on to this defense here so we can keep it rolling. They went with the exact same, I think is what they said, nearly the exact same 8 that they had at Four Nations, and I think that is wrong, mostly. Let's be honest, if we were going to put an old defenseman on this roster, this is going to sound so homer, but Brent Burns would have been a better choice over Drew Doughty. He would have. Brent Burns is having a revival year in Colorado, and if he would have gotten to play with Cale Makar, Devon Toews also, he would have been great. Not only has he been better offensively this year, it feels like he's been better defensively this year than Drew Doughty. That's wrong. Where is Jacob Chychrun? Where is Jacob Chychrun? That's stupid. I agree with most of the other picks here. I think Thomas Harley definitely deserves it. Cale Makar, Devon Toews. I do like Parayko for his size. Josh Morrissey. Where the fuck is Jacob Chychrun?
I have no idea. I really don't. And I'm with you. I think Drew Doughty, his best time is past. We saw that at Four Nations. He wasn't bad, but he did, even with everything, to me, sometimes feel a step slower compared to his, I guess, his league mates, his line mates, his fellow defensemen. He's old. He's, and it's not that he's a bad defenseman.
No.
I don't think
there are better options right
anymore.
now. There are better options.
Exactly.
And
and I'm with you. Like, I'm sorry, really quickly.
No,
the top 6 of Makar, Toews, Morrissey, Parayko, Harley, like those 5 for sure.
Theodore,
for me,
Sanheim,
are the no-brainers.
Both good.
Yeah, and then you have Sanheim and Theodore at for me 6 and 7. Maybe I'm not giving Sanheim enough credit. Same with Theodore, but Theodore plays for the Knights, so that bias is valid. But Drew Doughty, man, that's your easy one to pluck out and then insert, like what you were saying, and make that fix to put Chychrun in there based on the season he's having, the player he is today, right now. It's the better option, and there's not even a doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah. So I just think, for the most part, I can say yeah to this defensive core, but Drew Doughty's honestly my biggest issue with it. Devon Toews, I did also want to say, he said in an interview today that, bless his heart, he said his wife is pregnant with their next child, and she is due in February, and he said if the baby has not yet been born, then he is going to skip the Olympics, which, you know what, 100% respect that decision. So if he ends up not being there, I believe Mackenzie Weegar is the next choice up after. So yeah, there you go, everybody. I think perfectly reasonable.
Perfectly reasonable, and I would also take Weegar over Doughty. So perfectly reasonable as the next man up. Perfectly reasonable, and honestly, a huge respect to Devon Toews. That's what you should do. That's what a dad does.
Yes, sir.
And be there, support your wife, see your kid be born. All of that. That is, we love to hear that culture, that the man he is. It's a good role model that others should follow.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just world class gentleman as always. Well, Dom, I think it's actually better now, looking at the time, that we got the USA delayed, because we will look at USA's roster next week. So that will be fun. So everybody, make sure to tune in next week as we break down and yell at Team USA's roster. But we did get a little bit of a sneak preview, and I think good news in my mind. Clayton Keller, Tage Thompson, and Seth Jones have all made the roster. Now, I definitely think Tage Thompson is a great selection. I think Clayton Keller is a great selection. I am going to riot if Cole Caulfield is not on this fucking team. There are a few other players I like outside of the Colorado Avalanche. I fucking love Cole Caulfield. I would wear that jersey if somebody gave it to me with pride. Put Cole Caulfield on Team USA, but that's just a little bit of a sneak preview that I came across that I wanted to share.
Yeah, thanks. I hadn't seen that one, and I'm with you too. That it's that same thing with that line with Suzuki. I mean, hell, they should all be on a roster. If Russia was in this the same way, you know,
Russia's roster would be so fucking busted. Let's be so real. Like you have Vasi,
Russia versus Canada,
Igor Sorokin as your net choices. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god, that forward core would be absolutely fucking disgusting too. I understand why, but man, do I wish. I just realized though, before we move on from the Olympic roster here, let me actually read out who is on the roster for everybody here. So your forwards for Team Canada are Macklin Celebrini, Anthony Cirelli, Sidney Crosby, Brandon Hagel, Bo Horvat, Nathan McKinnon, Brad Marchand, Mitch Marner, Connor McDavid, Braden Point, Sam Reinhart, Mark Stone, Nick Suzuki, and Tom Wilson. As for your D core, we have Drew Doughty, Thomas Harley, Cale Makar, Josh Morrissey, Colton Parayko, Travis Sanheim, Shea Theodore, and Devon Taves. And your goaltenders are Jordan Bennington, Darcy Kemper, and Logan Thompson. All of those listed in order of most skilled to least skilled. Just kidding. That is absolutely not what it was.
I mean, Celebrini at number 1 might not be false, but from the rest of the way down, anyway.
Anyway, with these Olympics now beginning in less than 40 days, we can't forget that another incredibly important tournament is occurring. The World Juniors. So, with several key players playing and performing in this year's tournament, including a couple Sharks as well, Dom is going to give us a brief check-in on how it's going. Dom.
Thanks, Corey. Yeah, and I've been tracking the World Juniors, been watching games when I can, when I get access to them in my streaming, because they've been only on NHL Network, unfortunately, or TSN. So I've been getting that Canadian stream. Like the Canadian stream better, by the way. So shout out to them Canadian announcers. But couple just quick news that if you haven't been tracking the World Juniors are bits to know. Canada, after their first game, did not shake hands versus Czechia.
That's
and they have some
up.
history going back to prior World Juniors. And so sent the wrong message. It was on opening night, no less. They have since apologized, and Captain Porter Martone, recently drafted by the Philadelphia Flyers, he took personal accountability as the captain of Team Canada for this tournament. For that mistake, he extended an apology of his own in addition to the one extended by the team. He got an actual official international warning from the game.
Oh my.
He was fired up, and yeah, that game against Czechia, it was loose. It was like 7-5 was the final score. They're a good team. A lot of people expect them to make the medal rounds after these past few years. But it does seem like it was an honest mistake. Canada's committed and has since shook hands with every other team in their subsequent games, including their second match versus Latvia, which went to OT again. And for those who don't know, Canada actually lost to Latvia 2-1 in overtime last World Juniors. This time they did get the OT victory over Latvia 2-1 themselves, but just interesting to see that Latvia is not a team that always is dangerous or feared by most teams in the World Juniors. They are very good defensively, but not this offensive juggernaut of a team. But against Canada, they always turn in good results. So sleeper to watch when we get to the quarterfinals. Another major storyline was U.S. defenseman Cole Hudson, drafted by the Washington Capitals. He took a puck to the head when he was sliding down to block, and it hit like right in the weak part of the helm. Like it was his helmet that it hit, but it hit like in that back part. So like at an angle right behind his ear. So it did make contact with the helmet first and not directly with his head, but he was down for an extended period of time in the second game of pool play for the U.S. versus Switzerland. He is okay. He was recently discharged from the Minnesota hospital he was staying at, but he has not yet returned to the ice and did not play today in the US's game against Sweden. So that's going to be important as the probably the best defenseman across the entire tournament has missed multiple games, and we'll see if he'll actually be able to play in the quarterfinals because he has not yet returned to the ice, even though he is out of the hospital. However, I mentioned this as well, not to bring everyone down, because there was an absolutely touching moment when his teammate Cole Eiserman from on the ice the entire time, talking to him, calming him down, just making sure he was okay. Also was able to test him, make sure that he could squeeze his hand and that he was still able to move and everything. So just to know that Hudson was okay. So just a really beautiful moment where life is bigger than hockey. But even so, for these two players, they've known each other, been playing on teams together for years. I think 9 years is as far back as it goes between the national level, development play, as well as they played together on Boston in NCAA play. So just those are some of the more major storylines that are not always like game or score centric from this year's IIHF World Juniors. Lastly, before I get into just previewing the quarterfinal matchups, for those who don't know, I should backtrack. There are 10 teams that play in Division One, and there are divisions of World Juniors. So if the team that comes in last place, so that is going to be between Denmark and Germany, who are going to finish last in their respective pools of 5. They will be playing in a 9th place game to open prior to the quarterfinal play for the remaining 8 teams. Relegation is on the line for the loser. So whoever loses that, they have to play the champion from Division 2. So that next group of 10 countries, they would play the champion of Division 2 to see about relegation. So the winner of that matchup will get to play in Division 1 next year, and the loser will be in Division 2. So that's just an interesting way how they rotate the countries every year. So it'll be between Denmark and Germany to see whose spot is guaranteed in Division 1 and who is potentially at risk of relegation. But Corey, is there anything you would like to interject? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw like a post about the relegation games, and I thought it was just a meme. I thought it was a joke. I didn't realize that that was actually a real thing.
Yeah, and it's how it makes it fair and gives other teams a chance to promote as well, right? That's the other way of thinking of it, rather than being stuck in Division 2. If you have young talent and you don't have other opportunities to win your way up. And so even if you win Division 2 as the champion, it's not a guarantee even. You still have to beat that last place in Division 1 and truly take their spot. So I like the way they set up relegation. It's not like in Major League Soccer where it's just based purely on record. Based on your record in the tournament, you earn the right to play in a head-to-head game where the winner gets the top spot and the loser goes down a bracket. So I like relegation system compared to others is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, then I learned something new today. But yes, give us those previews, Dom.
So for the quarterfinals, currently there is still one game ongoing at the time of this recording between Canada and Finland in Group B. Canada currently leads that one 6-4. So we're going to operate under the assumption that Canada wins to finish on top of Group B where they currently sit. With that in mind, Canada as the 1 seed from Group B will be playing the 4 seed from Group A, Slovakia. And Slovakia actually gave the U.S. a challenge. The U.S. were down in that game, or it was close. The final score was 6-5. So Slovakia gave the U.S. a real challenge. This team is not to be overlooked. We'll see how they do against Canada. In Group A, Sweden did have a very, I'll call it dominant victory over the U.S. today, winning 6-3. So they will be the 1 seed from Pool A and will be playing against Latvia. So we will see if the young Swedish offense against that defense from Latvia, how that matchup goes. If results hold, like I said, and Canada wins in regulation, that means the U.S. and Finland will play each other in quarterfinal play, and the Czechs will play the Swiss. Now, coming into the tournament, the medal favorites were all between the group of 5 of Sweden, U.S., Finland, Canada, and Czechia. I do think Slovakia is a little bit of a dark horse here. If any team could pull an upset over Canada, I think the Slovakia team has been feisty. But I do think your favorites as of today, if I had to rank them, I think Sweden should be your number 1 power rankings, Canada at number 2. I would put Czechia at number 3, the US at 4, Finland at 5, Slovakia at 6, even though they lost and finished behind Switzerland. I do think Slovakia has more upside. The Swiss at 7 and the Latvians at 8 if I had to power rank them today.
Well, okay. There you go, everybody. I would like to say that the Avalanche do, in fact, have one player in this, or one prospect in this tournament, Max Caron, who is playing for Czechia. So if you are watching a Czechia game, look out for Max Caron. He is representing the Avalanche, which obviously the Avalanche do not have many prospects. So it's good. It's good that they have somebody to cheer for. So if you want to cheer for anybody, obviously cheer for your country or the one that you'd like to cheer for. But otherwise, if you're looking for the Avs, they are on Czechia with Max Caron. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh, yes. Sorry. This is probably where I mentioned that there are Sharks in the tournament. I honestly haven't been trying to focus on the Sharks. I've just been trying to watch the game and see. You know me. I like when players play for country.
Yeah.
I will say Michael Misa is obviously the headliner,
of course,
of the Sharks prospects that are in the tournament, and he is underwhelmed to some degree. His line for Canada has not been the most productive, at least not compared to McKenna's line.
Of course.
It's not the end of the world. It's just they're not gelling the same way. Maybe he's still dealing with something minor injury wise. He had missed some time in the build up to this tournament, so I'm not reading into it too much. But something, and I might get into it more later, I'll just say it briefly now, though, is considering how well Chernyshov has done for the Sharks, and he has earned that roster spot, and I can give numbers later, but he's earned that roster spot. When Will Smith comes back, who gets the axe for this year? And if Misa's not at 100%, and it's just, if you're going to be short a spot, why burn his rookie year? He's only played 7 games so far this season at the NHL level. At a certain point, do you redshirt him so you still get an extra year on that rookie contract? Give him some more time to rest up, to heal, to get back in the groove of things before bringing him back to the NHL level for the experience? I don't know the answer. I'm not a GM, but I'm willing to ask the question now, because a spot that when we think of trade deadline, if certain Sharks are moved out, which they might not since this team is in a playoff spot, but if we operate under that assumption like there was preseason, then there would be a spot, excuse me, for a Misa. But if Chernyshov has made the jump and has taken that spot and he deserves it, then I think it's worth asking, does Misa play, or how many more games does he play for the Sharks this year?
And a very valid question at that. One brief fun fact for you, everybody. Macklin Celebrini was still eligible to play in the World Juniors tournament, and oh my God, can you even imagine? But obviously the Sharks can't afford to really loan him out right now, which probably for the better that they didn't. So anyways, moving along here, a couple things that I want to say just before I hop into my little segment here as we continue to chug along in our first episode of the new year is the Buffalo Sabres have won 10 in a row.
Hey, yo,
it is no longer a possibility. It is a fact. They went into Dallas and beat Dallas 4-1. Hell fucking yeah. Anyway, just wanted to state that real quick. If the Avalanche win here tonight against the St. Louis Blues, they will be the first team in NHL history to have 30 wins before January 1st. So, something to keep in mind. Couple milestones. Congratulations to Steven Stamkos for becoming the 22nd player in NHL history to hit 600 career goals. That is quite the remarkable feat, considering all the players who have ever played in the NHL. Nathan MacKinnon has hit 400 career goals and then 401. We're not going to talk about the Blues game much more tonight, but just wanted to highlight that feat because I think every 100 goals he has only gotten faster. There's only Michel Goulet and Joe Sakic in his way now. And Brock Nelson hit 300 career assists. So pretty darn cool today. Now then, Dom, any brief commentary on that before we jump into our soap opera?
Well, the soap opera is so much fun. I don't know if I want to delay it too long, but yeah, just crazy, crazy to think. Sorry, you said it right at the end there of the previous thing, but the fact that Celebrini was eligible still
Yeah.
for the World Juniors, I'm still just not over that, and the fact that he's that young,
Dude
like
would have
all
scored
these
like
things,
30 goals.
and he's still not even in his prime yet. We're years away from Celebrini's prime, and he's already doing this. Love
Telling
it.
you. You can all quote
But
me.
also,
Celebrini is going to be
only
the next
time-
best player in the NHL. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I agree. We could not agree more on that one. But as a New England Patriots fan, also clinched recently for
Fuck
their
you.
playoff spot. I know this isn't about football, but one time you will hear me say this. Let's go Buffalo. Thank you, Sabres, for doing a public service and beating Dallas. I'm sorry the Sharks were not able to do that a couple weeks ago, but 10 wins. That means
It ties the longest
if
in
you want to hear
franchise
more
history,
about
by
how
the
Buffalo's
way.
been doing, we got to point you. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, then if you are interested, those of you listening to hear more about Buffalo and their recent success, I cannot encourage you enough. The hockey guy said previously that if they get to 10 straight wins, he'll make a video about it. So go find his video about it. He'll be giving you a good in-depth recap of Sabres and their recent success.
I definitely will be watching it. And yes, agree. THG is one of my favorite go-tos for listening to somebody who's very knowledgeable about the game talk about the game. So, alrighty, everybody, here we go. Some teams have it all. Some teams have nothing. When the Avalanche take on an opponent that's going to give them their best, they need to bring everything to take them down. What did they have in that game? What did they not? Did their opponents really bring everything? These are the Avs and the Av-Nots. Winnipeg. Avalanche versus Winnipeg. Final score 3-2. Avalanche. Have-Nots for Winnipeg. A memorable performance. While this game was a while back, it is one that simply does not stick out in my mind very well. What I do remember is that the Jets allowed themselves to get bullied early on, and when they finally decided to push back, it was a little too late. The Jets simply do not have the same threatening aura that they had last season. And where the fuck, where was I? There we go. That they did last year on their way to the President's Trophy. Even the prospect of Connor Hellebuck doesn't seem so scary anymore. They lost their ability to dominate the Avs in the regular season like they had last year. And another thing was that they just didn't have the puck on their stick terribly often. The Avs were strong on the puck, and if the puck wasn't on the Avs stick, they got it back from the Jets very quickly. But even looking back at my notes, the Jets just didn't have the it factor that most teams still bring against the Avs. They have fallen, and they have fallen hard. But what did they have? They do still have Connor Hellebuck, though, who was the reason the Avalanche didn't score 7 in this game. He is always incredibly positionally sound and has always played well against the Avalanche in the regular season, and that was the case tonight. He came up with several major saves to keep the Avalanche off the board when the Jets were getting outworked massively through the first 2 periods of this game. With how bad the Jets are this year, it's no wonder he was the Hart Trophy winner last year in addition to the Vezina. He covered up many mistakes that the Jets have made or may have made last year, but this year they may be making too many as a team for him to handle on his own. They also beat the Avs in special teams, getting both a shorty and a power play goal, but nothing 5-on-5. We'll dive more into these special teams when we talk about the Kings, because somehow the exact same situation happened there as well, so I'll have a bit more to say then. What about the Avalanche this game? What do they have?
Really quickly.
Oh, God, Jesus. Okay.
Really quickly. Before
Yeah.
you move on from Winnipeg, because there's one thing they have as of this recording. It is sole possession of last place in the NHL.
That is fucking tragic. Can you even imagine? The fall must be studied. I thought I maybe had something for it here. I thought I said it, but yes, the fall of Winnipeg must be studied. It's truly remarkable. Anyway, the Avalanche, what do they have? They had Bruce Brown between the bench. This was truly the highlight of the entire game. The Avalanche welcomed a couple Nuggets players into this game, including Bruce Brown, who spent the entire second period between the benches, and his commentary was pure gold. He is a trash talker, self-proclaimed trash talker and chirper in the NBA, but he was told he wasn't allowed to chirp the Winnipeg bench, and boy, I wish he would have been able to, because I know that it would have been incredible. He had some awesome questions that he should come on the Captain Avalanche Fancast to ask, but it seems like the Avs have converted Bruce Brown into a fully fledged hockey fan now that he is back in Denver. I do hope they bring him back again. The only thing I wish is that the Avs could have gotten a goal while he was in there between the benches. The only thing the other thing that the Avalanche had in this game was the better goalie. Yes, Wedgwood got beat, but the Jets only had 4 less shots than the Avalanche on the night and pushed hard in the third. If you would have asked anyone last year who would win in a goaltending battle, Hellebuck or Scott Wedgwood, people would have laughed at you for even thinking Scott Wedgwood. And yet, here we are. Wedgwood outdueled Hellebuck in this game, and while the Avalanche did take the win, Wedgwood had to make a few key saves to stop the momentum from shifting in the Jets' favor and keeping the game from ever getting tied, because it still could have with momentary lapses in concentration. But the Lumberyard continues their goaltending dominion over the rest of the NHL. It does not matter who they face on the other end. What do the Avs have not? They did not test Hellebuck enough. The Avalanche don't get less than 30 shots terribly often. In fact, it's only happened 11 times in 38 games. And some of those they had 28 or 29 shots. So very close, but I digress. The Avalanche only put 26 shots on Hellebuck, and typically with a goaltender of his caliber, it is simply going to take a lot more to beat him. Normal shots do not work on guys like this. Therefore, you have to get clever, take eyes away, tip shots in, quick 2-on-1s, just tricky and unconventional attacks, which, in fairness, the Avs did do, because these were the kind of goals that did go in, but some were a bit lucky, like Burns' goal, which went off a Winnipeg player in front, but I'm honestly just nitpicking at this point, and you have to be good to be lucky. As we already mentioned, the Avalanche also lost the special teams battle, but I'll have a big rant for it later. I know this doesn't seem like much for the first game that we're talking about here, but it was just a solid Avalanche win. I think they could have crushed Winnipeg more and missed on that opportunity, but they still won, so I can't complain. Avs at Minnesota. Final 5-2 Avalanche. Minnesota. What did they have? The Wild, they had swagger. They had hope coming into this game. They were riding a 7-game win streak and a 12 or 14 home point streak. They had that home ice advantage. They had managed to defeat the mighty Avs the last time they played. They had the hottest goaltender in the league ready to step it up again in Jesper Wallstedt. Not only that, but the Wild had been empowered by the acquisition of Quinn Hughes. They hadn't lost since he had gotten there. Returns have already been good. Not to mention Kaprizov is still cooking. Guys like Tarasenko are starting to step up. Not to mention, they had also beaten Dallas convincingly a week prior. They felt good coming into this game. They felt it was going to be another clash of the Titans, another playoff-style game. And why wouldn't they? They had no reason to believe that it wouldn't be. The Avalanche. What did they have? Rather than having a section for the have-nots for Minnesota, I will explain to you what they lacked from the perspective of what the Avalanche have. Utter domination. The first meeting of these two teams was not an accurate depiction. Back-to-backs be damned. The first time they both played, both teams were on a back-to-back. Here is a game where Colorado was genuinely at the absolute peak of its powers, where everything goes absolutely correct in a game. It took them a while to get the game's first goal, but once they did, there was no turning back. Because the first goal was utter perfection. Perfect read by the top line with Landeskog now inserted. Landeskog to Makar to Natchez, who had sneakily drifted to the slot to fire a wicked wrist shot past Wallstedt. Or no, not wicked wrist shot, just a wicked shot. The Avalanche dominated 5-on-5, as always, and even the special teams. Their power play actually functioned and scored not once but twice in the second period. Their PK looked more like another power play for them, and that's against a top 10 Minnesota power play. The Avalanche would have had even more goals had it not been for a coach's challenge on yet another incredibly close offside call. Nothing worked for Minnesota, and seemingly everything worked for the Avalanche, even in the third where Minnesota pushed back, got a goal that seemed to be the start of something, anything. The Avalanche simply crushed that to dust with an absolute missile by Big Cock Brock to get me absolutely Brock hard and crush the hopes of any kind of a comeback. Then they put in an empty netter just to put a stamp on it. Don't get me wrong, Wallstead still had a great game, considering he had to face 41 shots! But I think that this game, quote, kind of shows we are a better team than them, close quote. Also, Ryan Hartman is a dumbass. As for the have-nots for the Avs, they didn't help Mackenzie Blackwood get the shutout. Dumb. Anything.
Yeah,
you don't have to have anything,
Minnesota.
just if you have anything.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think with the Minnesota one, it's interesting. I just gotta say this. I rather than saving it till the end, but you know, one thing that the Avs have,
What's that, Dom?
a 10-point lead over Dallas to start 2026,
Oh.
assuming results hold tonight.
Dom, I've just coomed. Bless you.
And even though they had to beat Minnesota on the way, Minnesota is only one win, exactly 2 points behind Dallas, from forcing Dallas to go on the road in round one.
Yeah. You are speaking the language that Avs fans want to hear, Dom. You're speaking the language that I want to hear. That is just...
And you know what else they have?
What's that? What do you have, Dom?
Still they have only 2 regulation losses, none at home. Well, they have 67 points after tonight in 39 games. That is 1.72 points per game this team is averaging. That would be 141 points if it held for the rest of the season.
Is that the record? The record's 139, right? Or what is the record? What is the record? I mean, I want to say that's close to the record, but anyway, yes.
That I want to say so too. I'm pulling it up. Yeah.
But thank you, Dom. While you pull that up, I'll hop into our next episode of the Avs and the Avnots here against the Utah. Final score, 1-0 Avalanche. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. I messed up my notes. Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay, there we go. Utah.
Okay, well, you messed it up.
No,
it was
we're good.
135, actually.
Oh, it was
for
135.
Boston.
Okay, so even more beatable. No. Okay, Utah. Before I say anything in regards to the have and the have-nots, I just wanted to share what I heard an old man say behind me as I was exiting this game, as I did attend it. He said in so many words that, quote, well, it may have been a sleepy game, but you love watching some live hockey before Christmas, close quote. I didn't say anything in the moment, but I wanted to say, if you thought that game was sleepy, then we were clearly watching 2 different games, because this was genuinely one of the most action-packed games that I have been to all season and was on the absolute edge of my seat. It was an edge of your seat watch from beginning to end. Now then, what did Utah have? Vitek Vanacek. This name may sound familiar to some of you. I know it does to Dom, but the former Shark and Stanley Cup winner came to play in this game. This game was the purest definition of a goaltending duel. Each team traded chances, and there were some absolute surefire goals flying Vanacek's way, and he stood strong. I was all for him getting a star in this game because I thought he absolutely deserved it. The fact that the Avalanche got one past him is a genuine miracle. He truly brought every goalie skill that he has ever accumulated to play in this game, and he kept literally every single Av from getting a point except for one Samuel Girard. Clayton Keller also had himself quite the game. He wasn't on the scoreboard, but man, did he want to be. He is the captain of Utah, and he acted like it out on the ice. He took initiative and was fighting the hardest when crunch time came around. I truly have to commend his effort because he single-handedly was trying to will his team to victory or at least tie the game. He demanded the puck. He broke through the Avalanche defenses. There was just one thing him and the rest of his squad couldn't do, and that's solve Scott Wedgwood. For their have-nots, it is truly hard to say that there was something Utah didn't have in this game. They played the Avalanche exceptionally. They generated utterly grade A quality scoring chances. They got odd man rushes. They got behind the Avalanche defense. They truly did everything possible and did it correctly against the NHL's best team. But they just could not solve Scott Wedgwood. Now, as for the Avalanche, what did they have? Speaking of Scott Wedgwood, take everything I said about Vitek Vanacek and apply it here to Scott Wedgwood times 10. He was truly not letting anything through. Anything. Utah could have thrown a grenade at him and he would have saved it instead of diving out of the way. He was the textbook, or rather sportsbook definition of dialed in. I truly think if this were a game any other time, he would have stopped everything against any opponent with the way he was today. Let's hope that Wedgwood keeps showing up because, my God, this was his absolute best shutout of the season. The Avalanche also had the only goal, the only point in this game. That's right. That Sam Girard goal was unassisted. He had a mini breakaway on a steal and a broken play and managed to deke and roof one on Vanacek in the second period, and that was it. Nothing else. Thank goodness for Sammy G, who I genuinely predicted would score. If I were a sports bettor, I would have made absolute bank. Believe me if you want. Finally, the Avalanche had a little bit of luck on their side. A lot of goal reviews have not gone the Avalanche's way this season, and if you don't believe me, case in point, Gabriel Landeskog. Anyways, remember all that good shit I was talking about Clayton Keller? Well, it seemed like he did score at one point, and to be honest, I thought it was a goal until I saw the overhead angle. Keller won the battle to the front of the Avalanche net, got his first shot saved, and somehow followed it up with a chip shot, which Wedgwood did catch. But his glove began drifting into the net and seemingly over the line. But the league, who is of course always 100% correct, initiated a review and called it no goal. But what did the Avalanche not have in this game? No offense to Vitek, and I did mean all the compliments I gave him earlier, but the man has a .879 save percentage this season and a 2.92 GAA. Not only that, but Utah is on a slide right now. I did fully expect the Avalanche to lay an absolute smackdown on Vitek, where they score 4.4 goals for at home and take absolute advantage of this gift. But that did not happen. And this is honestly more credit to Utah, who, regardless of where they are in the standings, came to play and always play against the Avalanche, or always come to play against the Avalanche. And they bring their absolute best that they can bring. And if they had this performance every night, they might not be where they are. But I did, if nothing else, expect more from the Avs in this game. They got their chances, but they could put nothing away and couldn't break the dam open to begin shelling Vitek Vanacek. But the Avalanche also did not have the puck on their stick a whole lot in this game. Utah had many stretches and periods in all the periods where they were the more dangerous offensive team, and shot totals reflect that. However, the Avalanche walked away with the win in this game, or how the Avalanche walked away with the win in this game, is a bit of a Christmas miracle, but it does demonstrate that the Avalanche know how to win in any type of game, even ones where they don't put up 4 or more goals. And really, they had a similar game to this against the Blackhawks earlier in the season, so I was reminded of. So, I mean, yeah. Dom.
Well, and even in this is what we've been saying, even in the games where the Avalanche aren't at their best or just meet a stubborn opponent, they're still finding ways to win. And that's what champions do. And that's why their home record is still pristine. But I will say you touched on it a little bit. This Utah that showed up in this game against the Avalanche is that next step we were expecting Utah to take, to be in that realm of where Minnesota and Dallas are chasing down the Avalanche, and they've disappointed. They've underwhelmed. We thought they would make a bigger step this year, but this game was the perfect example from what I saw as well from the replay highlights that this team has the makings of something good if they can figure out how to do it consistently. And that is both with their goaltending, like you mentioned, it's been very inconsistent for both Vitek and for Vejmelka as well. He's not been as when he's on, but his off nights have not been the prettiest this year. So interested to see if Utah can take some of these things from their game into 2026 and still be a competitor, because right now they're outside the playoff picture, and I hope it stays that way because that means the Sharks are in.
Yes, very, very true. And I mean, unfortunately, if you're in the West, the only hope you have right now of getting into the playoffs is a wild card spot, especially if you're in the Central Division, which Utah unfortunately is. And the points disparity gets even worse because, again, they're in the Central Division and the top three teams, they're going to be seeing them the most, which means they have to play them the most. And I guarantee you that they're not going to sit quietly. So with all due respect, I hope the Sharks get one of those wild card spots, and I hope no other Central Division teams do, to be totally honest with you.
Well, and you hit on something important there that's worth mentioning right now is the fact that the Central teams have to go through the Central teams. Yes. Because outside of the playoff picture, the three best teams that I feel like could sneak in, get a spot that are not currently in one are Seattle, just based on games in hand.
No.
Nashville and Utah. Well, Nashville's been winning, so I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
I was saying no to Seattle. I'm fine with Nashville.
Oh, okay. Anyway, point is for Utah, for Nashville, hell, even for St. Louis, or if Chicago, when Bedard's back, they all have to go through each other and through Minnesota, Dallas, and Colorado as well. Whereas in the Pacific, the Sharks are now only 2 points behind Anaheim in the same number of games played, which is also 2 points behind Vegas and only 3 points behind Edmonton. The Sharks are 3 points away from leading the Pacific. That is how wide open and bad the Pacific is. And it's not like bad, it's just mid. Like even the top of the Pacific is not great.
Come on, now. Dom, you saying you don't want to play the Avalanche in round one?
As much as I want to see a series here in Colorado, I would love to fly out to San Jose if we're hosting some round one games. I mean, how about this? What about a Western Conference final for the Sharks and the Avs? That would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
That'd be insane.
If that happened this year, I'd probably lose my shit. It is so unfathomable, but that's the Pacific. It could happen.
The content would be immaculate if that happened.
It would either be immaculate or terrible because I'd be so excited about the game that I wouldn't be writing shit down.
Yeah, Dom would just come into every episode just absolutely blabbering. He'd be like, yeah, that'd be how
like I do every week anyway.
It's okay. But anyway, we shall carry on. The next episode of our soap opera here, VGK. Final score 6-5, Avalanche. Halves for the Vegas Golden Knights. The Golden Knights have Colton Sissons, who has scored 98 career NHL goals, and 11 of those have been against the Colorado Avalanche. That means 11%, around 11%, of all of Colton Sissons' goals when there are 32 NHL teams have been against the Colorado Avalanche. So that contributes to another Vegas have, and that's scoring depth. 12 different Vegas players registered a point in this game, and while they might not all be the best individually, they are the best together. And Vegas management has always done well to identify players who can contribute to the team offensively. With injuries in their lineup, Vegas hasn't ever really had a problem scoring goals and scoring them quickly or at the worst times for the other team. Vegas took the lead 3 separate times. They scored first in the first and kept Colorado from doing any scoring of their own. They scored first in the second, and when the Avs tied it, Vegas scored 90 seconds later, back-to-back to regain their 2-goal lead. Then the aforementioned Citizens scored with exactly 4 minutes left to seemingly put the dagger in the hearts of the Avalanche, seemingly pushing them to their third regulation loss. But what do the Vegas Golden Knights have not? Finishing power. The Vegas Golden Knights lack it significantly. They are great at getting games to extra time, but have also allowed it plenty themselves, where they are genuinely awful. While Vegas has had less than 10 regulation losses, or actually, no, it is 10 regulation losses now because they lost to Nashville today. They do have 11 losses in extra time. That's not good if you have Stanley Cup aspirations, because there is no pity point in the playoffs. You can't just take the loss on the chin and use it to improve your position in the standings. You either win or you lose, and plenty of games go to extra time in the playoffs where the Avs have now started to figure it out themselves, but Vegas simply hasn't. Also, their goaltending is all around ass. Now, what do... Oh, man, Mackenzie Blackwood's shutout was broken. Fuck off. Jesus Criminelli.
Oh, no.
I know. What a bummer. I think it was really a statement game for Mackenzie Blackwood, and I think he was really trying to make a point here. He was screened, and nothing he could do about that one. Now it's just like, you're not even worried that the Avalanche are in any danger of losing, obviously. You're just like, you wanted Mackenzie Blackwood to get the shutout, because then it proves the point. It's like,
hello?
Yeah.
It's me. I can't hear you. Mackenzie Blackwood's shutout was ruined.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, Doug, great job. You picked Jordan Bitchington for this team when you could have picked the guy who got a shutout against him. But no, it's fine. Also, the Avalanche have only allowed St. Louis to shoot 12 times. So that sucks, because that's going to make Mackenzie Blackwood's save percentage look awful. That's funny, dude. Anyway, Avalanche Vegas. What did the Avalanche not have in this game? I'll start with the have-nots for the Avs. The defense did, and goaltending did not have their best night. It's going to happen, but man, some of the opportunities the Av let through, including Devon Taves giving up a 2-on-1 off a poor play, the Burns and Manson pairing looking old and slow and just off a beat. Not to mention the Avalanche fought to tie the game just to give up 2 goals in 29 seconds. Then on top of that, Scott Wedgwood or Mackenzie Blackwood have been reliable to bail them out on a lot of those mistakes, but it just didn't happen tonight. The sharpness was not there, and it was an incredibly uncharacteristic game for the Avalanche defensively, especially after dominating Vegas earlier in the season. But what do the Avalanche have? The Avalanche had pushback, and they did have heart. Not the wrong kind of heart, but the actual heart beating in their chest, willing them to victory. I just realized the humor in that joke. I thought this game was over at multiple points. Valeri Nichushkin just scored a hat trick. Oh my God. Jordan Binnington threw his net. Your soap opera has been interrupted.
We love it when
by
Jordan Binnington loses his shit.
Tantrum. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Binnington losing his shit is one of my top 5 favorite things.
Are you gonna throw the net at the Olympics, Jordan? Oh my God. He threw that bitch. Hold on. Let's just see this again. Oh no, he didn't throw it. My bad. He didn't throw it. It was run into by a Blues player, but I figured he probably would have wanted to throw it anyway, but no. Oh, life
you would have known he threw it because it would hit someone.
You're right. He would have. What was he doing? He just picked up his leg. If he would have kept his leg down, Val wouldn't have scored. What the fuck? Okay. Now Nathan McKinnon just needs to get a hat trick, because we do have 2 players on hat trick watch. Now just 1, because he scored. So Nathan, come on now. You got to get it. Alrighty, everybody. Sorry, this was supposed to be super intense, but wow, that was fun. Anyway, Avalanche, yes. I thought this game was over at multiple points. The Vegas game, not the Blues game. This game was over for the Blues in the first period. But no, Vegas. Thought it was over, which is silly of me, but Vegas, while I gave them a negative review a moment ago, is still a talented playoff team. So I thought this was just the consequence of that post-holiday game where the Avalanche just weren't ready after traveling the same day. I was wrong. So wrong. I agree that if you somehow haven't watched a game this season, watch this one. It was not the Avs' strongest, and they somehow looked both so incredibly ass and so incredibly amazing in the same game. The comeback was unbelievable, which proves that even though this team doesn't have to come back a lot because they're always leading, doesn't mean they can't, because they entirely can. But when the Golden Knights restored their lead up 4-2, I thought that was it. When Colton Sissons scored with 4 minutes left to go ahead 5-4, I thought that was it. When the Avalanche went to the shootout, I truly thought that was it. It never was. The Avalanche got their first shootout win of the year and truly marched all the way back. They never quit at any point. Even when the Avs aren't at the peak, aren't at their peak, they still find a way to win.
Thank you for beating Vegas for us, because the Sharks just can never seem to, and it hurts my soul. Interesting thing you said there. Vegas is one of the worst, one of the best third period teams in the league, and one of the worst, if not the worst, overtime team in the league, which tells you that they're great at coming back. Like you said, Corey, they don't have the finishing power. They're not good at finishing those comebacks, but they find themselves in this position a lot where they have to have a strong third period. Of course, against the Sharks, they just beat up on us for the full 60. So, I'm just in a land of pain when it comes to those games. But for a lot of teams in the league, I don't know, this Vegas Golden Knights team this year just does not seem, yes, they have the pedigree. They've been there. They've with the playoffs and everything, but they just don't feel as dangerous as they have each of the past 5 years.
I agree.
That's across the board.
I agree with you.
Goaltending, like Aiden Hill, I feel like has taken a step back. I mean, he was great and he was on the Four Nations squad for a reason, but I don't know. Like, I think Akira Schmid, I think the hockey guy said it, and I honestly agree, from what I've seen, has been the best goaltender they have in like the last couple of weeks. And that's just weird to say. And even though they've been really good at just swapping out players like broken parts and just signing new guys out with the old and with the new, just constantly keep on churning towards playoffs every year, it does feel like a cliff is coming for them, where there's this regression, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a steep drop off soon in the next year or two where they fall out of relevance entirely.
God, wouldn't that be a gift to the entire hockey world? Then that makes room for the Sharks to go ahead and dominate the Pacific Division along with the Ducks. So the resurgence and revival of the California rivalry would be great to see. So honestly, I am totally with that if that's what happens. Which reminds me, fuck you, Rico. Final episode of our soap opera, or the final episode of this season of the Avs and the Avnots. The Los Angeles Kings. Final score 5-2 Avs. The Kings. What did they have? What the LA Kings had coming into this game was a game plan. Much like the Kraken did against the Avalanche. The Kings were going to clog up the neutral zone of the ice, shut down the Avalanche's speed, and use their strict and aggressive defensive strategy. Contain Nathan MacKinnon and the Avs' top line so they couldn't do their normal super effective damage like they do against so many. But the game plan that the Kings came in with is one that they truly did execute perfectly. The Avalanche looked uncomfortable out there. They never truly were set up at any point. They hardly had any cycles going. Their potent rush offense was incredibly limited. The Kings seemed to have their sticks in every lane. Even with a 22nd ranked penalty kill, it looked hyper effective against an already middling Avalanche power play. Every time an Avs player had a puck on their stick during the power play, they couldn't hold it for longer than a literal second before a Kings player was on them. It truly did not look like the Kings were down a man because of how effective they hunted pucks. Their special teams, another half, just greatly outshine the Avs. Not only did they make an ass power play look 100 times more ass, but they even scored their league-leading 7th shorthanded goal against the Avs. Another have. They also set up stupid, stinky Corey Perry to score on their own power play. But the Kings were purposeful with their play, and they were physical. They finished every check they made and absolutely made sure that the Avalanche were sore in the morning. With this unrelenting force, they managed to keep the game close, even tying it 1-1. And then they lost 5-2. Despite the Kings outclassing the Avalanche in special teams battle. You got to make yourself laugh, everybody. That's the only way to live life. Despite the Kings outclassing the Avalanche in the special teams battle, being gifted quite a few questionable opportunities to continue to execute on their power play when the Avalanche PK gave up 1 goal, they are seldom going to give up 2. Lest you forget that both the Kings' goals came on the special teams. Nothing at 5-on-5, where the Avalanche unequivocally dominate this year. The Kings could do nothing 5-on-5 against the Avalanche, despite looking like the better team for a good stretch of the night. But all that did was force the Avalanche to learn, adapt, and work harder, which they did in the middle of the game. Rather than the Avs taking the L and learning from it, they adapted on the spot to overcome the adversity that the Kings presented. Another thing the Kings did not have was Darcy Kemper, who has been stellar for them in net since he's gotten there. Not to mention former Avs always have a knack for playing well against their old club. He is still down with an injury, leaving the net to Anton Forsberg, who isn't bad by any stretch, but isn't Darcy Kemper by any either. The Kings simply did not have an answer for the goaltender at the other end of the ice, Mackenzie Blackwood, unless they had the most given advantage they can muster. As for the Avalanche, what did they have? As we touched on in the Kings section, the Avs adapted. One thing that has destroyed this team in the playoffs is when teams do what the Kings did and shut down the neutral zone and quiet the Avalanche's rush offense. And while I understand some people's concerns after this game, the Avalanche still won 5-2, which proves to me that they now have the ability, the coaching, the talent to overcome this defensive strategy because they still found a way to win. Their top line had an absolutely fourth line style goal where they grinded the Kings down in their own zone, mucked it up, fought to get the puck on net, and Marty Necas had to still poke it across the line after Gabe Landeskog dove head first and try and get the vulcanized rubber disc through. The Avalanche also have not just 14 now, but 15 straight wins on home ice and are now counting tonight's game 17-0-2 at home. They quite literally have the best home ice advantage that you could ask for as a team. The other half that I feel is important to touch on is the Avalanche have a 2C. So many people said that Brock Nelson contract was an overpay, and when he started the season slow, those comments only grew louder. He is now 3rd on the team in scoring and 5th in points, exactly where you want your 2C to be. He is a steady contributor and a defensively smart. I don't know if he made defensively smart. I don't know if he made Team USA, but if he did, he deserved it, and if he didn't, he deserved to make it. I hope he receives some recognition by the rest of the league because he has genuinely been exactly what the Avalanche have needed down the middle since the departure of Nazem Kadri. Now, what did the Avs not have this game? A functional fucking power play! Everyone else talks about it ad nauseum, but I am genuinely concerned at this point. The power play is expected not to score, but I do see that they at least get chances most nights on at least 1 or 2 of their power play opportunities. Tonight, during the Kings, it genuinely looked the worst it has all season. My optimism that it will improve or figure it out is rapidly dwindling because we are approaching the halfway point of the season now, and the answer of, quote, I don't know, from coach or player when asked what's wrong or what needs to change simply isn't acceptable anymore. You are the athletes, the talent, the professionals. You need to find the answer. I don't know the answer because I'm simply a fan of the game. I'm not supposed to have it. Study the Penguins or study Edmonton. They have a very similar setup of players out on their PP in my eyes. Why not try to emulate their power play, which is consistently at or near the top of the league every single fucking year? I beg you, do something, anything. I hate groaning every time a power play is called in favor of my team. One of the most historic teams in NHL history, and all anyone can talk about is the power play. If there were at least top 15, it would be better than this shit. Somehow, though, there are still, at least during the Kings game, six teams with a worse power play than the Avalanche. The Kings are one of them.
Well, yeah, that was quite the journey there. So backing up, the Kings, is such an interesting team. Annoying, like you were saying about their ability to clog up the middle, and that should be the recipe of every team. I think in general, I think that's just fundamental 101s. Put me as president of the Hates Corey Perry Club because I know we talked about this, my friend, but man, has he just tormented me for like my entire life in the Pacific Division. He's just always been there. I really hope what we were joking about does not come to pass and that his next stop is not Vegas. But, I'm not the Avalanche fan, so it's easy for me to say. I don't think you guys need a good power play. And I understand it's frustrating and stressful to have a power play called for your team in favor, like you're saying. And that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the opposite. But when you're so good at everything else, it just level the playing field a little bit. Like you're having your cake, you're eating it too, and there's a whole room dedicated to more just waiting for you. It's like you are Marie Antoinette with the cake. You don't need the power play too.
Yes, we do. But my thought of it was, if we were offered, hey, you will get the Stanley Cup and be the most dominant regular season team in NHL history, but you must give up one aspect of your game. I feel like the power play is the best thing to pick in that situation because you'd rather have a good PK so nobody scores on their power play against you. And if you're going to be that dominant 5-on-5, who the fuck needs a power play anyway? But I digress. Dom, I did not write an intro for you, but I would like to say that the Sharks have managed to win the same number of games that they won last year in half the time, which is absolutely fantastic. Not only that, but they haven't allowed themselves to get into long losing streaks, which is even better. Yes, they're not going to win every night, and sometimes they lose ugly and they win ugly, but sometimes they also win really pretty. But there's a lot to be proud of in this team, and they are taking full advantage of the fact that the West is an absolute dumpster fire beneath the three kings reigning at the top. Or should I say king and two princes? Yeah, that feels better. But anyways, Dom, I can't wait to talk about the game that I just watched today. But first, we got to get through a couple other things. It's time for In the Tank with Dom.
Well, thanks, Corey. And you asked me a couple nights ago, and I couldn't tell you then, but I can tell you now. Hit 20 wins. The goal from like way back when, a season ago, doesn't seem so grand and bold anymore. And I know I've already recalibrated my expectations to see this team win 35, and I believe they'll do it. But I also meant what I said earlier. The Ducks are on a 4-game losing streak. The Golden Knights are on a 3-game losing streak. The Sharks are on a 3-game winning streak. They are 2 points behind those two teams in front of them. So, yes, they're behind King Edmonton with 3 less points in 40 games played, but they have the same number of wins. They are second. They are tied for second in the entire Pacific in wins, behind only Anaheim, who they are just 2 points behind in the same number of games played. So that one win is the difference. I said it before, and this is the issue with the Pacific, is I think when we talk about the wild card race, we've talked about that there would be, and it's been widely talked about, that there are going to be mediocre teams in the West who get into the playoffs because there are teams in the East in last place at the very bottom with Columbus who would be a point out of playoff position in the West. It's just a different world. But I think it goes beyond that for the Pacific as a whole, that you will have Pacific leaders with a guaranteed spot, not in a wild card, who are also going to be mediocre, and really anyone could win depending on any given night. So I said it jokingly, but also if anybody can win any given night, the Oilers goaltending does not scare me. If anything, it's somehow worse. I think. I mean, maybe it's not. I don't know. It's just the Oilers. I expect their goaltending to fall apart. Vegas does not look like world beaters unless, of course, they're playing us. Anaheim, while having all that high potential and starting the year off strong, has really fallen off a cliff. LA is quintessential mid, and you're being chased by Utah, who's underperformed, Nashville, Calgary, St. Louis, and Seattle. I don't know. Tell me why, as a Sharks fan, I shouldn't think that getting the Sharks all the way to a 2 seed isn't even like unrealistic at this point.
I mean, I don't think it necessarily is. I unfortunately think Edmonton is somehow going to get more wins than they kind of deserve, being carried by Draisaitl and McDavid, because holy shit. Thankfully, Nathan McKinnon has closed the gap once again, and I believe is now only 1 point behind McDingle. So well done, McKinnon. Everybody's like, oh, Connor McDavid showing who the real best player is. Well, Nathan McKinnon has not stayed down for very long, so fuck off. Anyway. But yes, sorry,
well,
Sharks. I let that
keep them both honest.
I let that go very Avs-centric. My bad. But what? Yes, I do think, you know, at this point, it is a very real possibility that the Sharks end up in one of those top 3 spots if Anaheim keeps falling, which I hope they don't. Like, I want the Sharks to make the playoffs, but I do also want Anaheim to make the playoffs as well. I don't want another Kings versus Edmonton first round matchup. That would fucking be so ass. But it would also be good if Vegas could fall even further. So there are many hopes, and I think the Pacific Division, there's some real chance for chaos there, and I hope for that. And the Sharks hold the key to their destiny right now to control that chaos.
Exactly. That is something I haven't even thought. Like, the key to the Sharks' destiny was how much they could tank. And getting MacLeod and Celebrini proved that tanking in the right years is worth it. And yet here we are, and all of the Pacific and just the West in general is suddenly trying to compete again, where Calgary and Nashville are in the playoff hunt legitimately, even though they have the chance to get Gavin McKenna. So, you know, all those teams, whoever doesn't tank this year and should, y'all are idiots. Because MacLeod's proving it's worth it. But last time we dove in the tank, Corey, it was December 17th when you and I were sitting here recording. The Sharks had just won 3 straight games, 2 on the road with comebacks, including the greatest regular season comeback in franchise history and a dominant home performance against the Calgary Flames. After riding high in that last episode on those 3 straight victories, the Sharks then hit a speed bump, hosting the Dallas Stars on Thursday the 18th. And that kicked off a 3-game losing streak, with following that up with losses at home versus Seattle and on the road against Vegas. But let's not fret, Sharks fans, because what Corey said is true. Team Teal finished the year with 3 straight wins over Vancouver, Anaheim, and Minnesota, and will start the new year in playoff position, and not just any playoff position, that number 1 wild card. So they would be playing Edmonton in the first round if the playoffs started today, and have a much better chance because they don't have to go through the Avs. So, crazy. Wild to say, they control their own destiny. They securely hold the playoff spot. They are 3 points out of leading the entire Pacific. The team that has been in the tank, the team from the tank that has lived in the tank for 5 years, is now 3 points away from leading the entire Pacific Division. It is equally a commentary on the Sharks' huge gains, all carried on the back of Celebrini, and the Pacific's woes as a whole division. But let's get into the games and back to Dallas, because actually in this loss, Corey, you and I agree, the Sharks played well enough to win and outshot Dallas throughout the whole game. They were nonetheless ultimately dealt a bitter defeat, thanks in large part to that misguided Nedventure. Yes, that is a term. I'm coining it here if it hasn't been said. When he went behind his net to get the puck, play the puck, and decided, you know where the right place to play the puck is? Not to my own team. I'm just going to send it right up the center of the ice down Main Street from behind my own net. That's going to go well. And Ned's regrettable turnover, of course, resulted in a goal, but not just any goal. It was actually what would become the game-winning goal, just making my pain even worse, and my fury as well. And then, of course, Jamie Benn being Jamie Benn adds an empty netter for good measure, just because my night wasn't bad enough. And the Stars get a 5-3 victory in San Jose. Why this is frustrating is because it was a waste, an absolute waste of a strong top-line performance with 2 goals for this from Celebrini. The first one was a particularly slick moment when Macklin used all of his magical powers and wizardry to win the offensive zone faceoff through his opponent's legs, skate around him to recover the puck in the corner, then have the body control to, with only a few motions, without really moving his feet a ton, get enough space so that he could get a centering pass off to Graf in front of net. Zero shot for Ottinger to stop that one, make it 3-2. The second of those Colin Graf goals was a phenomenal rush play generated by one Igor Chernyshov, because his name is going to come up a ton in tonight's In the Tank. Picture this. This young rookie, he gets the puck at the top of the circle in the defensive zone, sprints up the middle of the ice, kicks the puck out to Macklin on the wing on the left point when entering the zone. Does he stop? Hell no. He drives the net, sets up on the left post before turning to receive a return pass from Celebrini, dusts it off once, and coolly centers it perfectly weighted past to Colin Graf, who was crashing. Once again, zero shot for Ottinger, tic-tac-toe. But this is a rookie winger playing a full game. Like, we talk about Macklin Celebrini being a 200-foot player, and this is Chernyshov starting the play in the defensive zone, being in the middle of it, skating it through center ice, and then being right there at the very end to finish it and have the perfect feed from the doorstep to Colin Graf. Like, man, this is just one of the many examples of why Chernyshov, like this, man, that 2024 draft, Corey, I know I sent it to you, but they take Celebrini at 1, Dickinson at, was it 10 or 11 overall, and then Chernyshov at 33. That right there, that span of 33 picks, you have 2 out of 3 pieces for your top line for the next decade and your future top pairing defenseman.
Yeah, I think that's
good job, Mike Greer.
Well, it's not just Mike Greer, but I mean the Sharks' entire amateur scouting. I have to give it to them. That's fucking great, because when you're able to draft not just obviously the top pick, that's easy. Anybody can do that. But when you can pick intelligently at, number 10, when it starts to become a little bit more questionable, and then obviously later down the line, once you hit the start of the second round, if you can identify those pieces that not only have possible NHL talent, but can fit into what your vision is for the team right now, that's a lot to be said for, like I said, your amateur scouting, and Chernyshov is definitely proving them right.
And thank you for mentioning that. And that's a good point. The scouting absolutely deserves credit. And I should have said so myself. So thank you for chiming in with that. But for all of you Avalanche fans listening, Chernyshov is our Nichushkin. Or
big ass
maybe
Russian.
If we want to put this in terms of, yeah, I mean, but also just the style of play, though, I think it's very reminiscent of a prime Landeskog.
Ooh.
The physicality, still the silky hands too, the ability to finish in close with deeks. When I send you some of the highlights, Corey, or when you see them, just picture it and imagine Landy if he was like 15 years younger, and just picture it. I think you'll see what I see there. But it's important to note, too, this big-ass Russian has played in the AHL. He has more experience than other people realize and give him credit. He's been huge for the Barracuda this year, and they're going to miss him in the AHL because he better not be going back. He better not be going back. I swear to God, I will lose my mind if Smith comes back and they send Chernyshov back to the AHL. I don't care who you have to trade, who you have to cut, whatever. That is my top line. I want to see Will Smith on one wing, Chernyshov on the other, Celebrity in the middle, because that's what it's going to be. That is what it is going to be. As much as we talk about the Celebrini and Smith chemistry, Chernyshov and Celebrini have chemistry too. It's different, obviously, but dynamic. And that size, the speed, the physicality. It's Smith and Celebrini are similar in a lot of ways. Chernyshov is bigger than them, and he plays with a higher degree of physicality, a little bit less flash, but he's still very talented. And it is something with their mixing up the top line. Warsofsky's been doing it all the time, both pre and post injury. It's the third piece they've been looking for. To some degree, you could argue it's the second piece, because if you ever want Smith to go back to center long term and be your second line center instead, depending on how that works out with him and Misa, now you still have a dynamic duo on your top line and you have options. So I know I'm going to get back to Dallas here in this first game because I have a litany of games to get through here quickly. But moral of the story, Chernyshov is really, really, really good. And other than MacLeod Celebrini, been my favorite player to watch in December. And he's only played in like half the games in December. So back to Dallas, though.
I mean, just real briefly, you're totally right. And I won't talk long because you're right. You do have, a few games to get through here in quite a limited amount of time, just due to the fact that, we have the ball dropping here soon. For all those wondering, we are recording this on New Year's Eve, and we all got to go sing Happy New Year here in a bit. So we have that. But you're right to recognize Chernyshov. I mean, I just saw today, after the Wild game, 7 points in his first 7 games. I mean, that's a point per game player just for being a call-up. That's the kind of action you want from your AHL call-up. So absolutely incredible on Chernyshov. So definitely right to recognize him. Anyway, that's all I wanted to point out.
A good point, and I'll have that stat, or I think a slightly updated one of that later on that factors in today's stats as well. But not just that, I think he's viewed as an AHL call-up, and going into 2026, I don't think he should be. I think he should be viewed as an NHLer at this point. And he just shouldn't return to the AHL this season, period. End of story. That is my feelings on the matter, and I'll say it again later for sure. But I'm going to get back to Dallas. This game can best be summarized by quoting myself, and I've paraphrased slightly, but from what I could find in our chat, Corey, the Sharks are out shooting them and controlling more possession overall, but the Stars are just frustratingly opportunistic, I guess. Man, isn't that the case?
Yeah.
So, and you think about the fact that they just converted on the chances. Ned gives them a freebie that ended up being the difference maker. Jamie Benn gets an empty netter, freebie, right? Sharks outshoot them the whole game, scored multiple times in the first and had it called back for whatever reason. One of them was played with a high stick, so Revo had a goal taken away when he scored first. But you also have Wyatt Johnston, as we talked about earlier, the absolute power play goal merchant leading the league. So their one power play they converted on, and the Sharks failed to convert on 3 power plays of their own. So even though I think the Sharks actually played the better game, if you talk full 60 minutes, the Stars were the better team and made the better of their chances. And God, was it frustrating for both of us, because in San Jose, we were really hoping after a close game in Dallas as well that got away from them at the end. They were a lot closer to winning this one, and those few major gaffes really made all the difference from the Sharks at least getting a point in this game, or putting the full 2 and stopping Dallas from getting a point at all, which I know you Avs fans want. So I said it before, but sorry we couldn't do it in this game. Fucking Dallas, man.
It's fine. Buffalo did the job.
Yes, thank you, Buffalo. But up next, Seattle. Unfortunately, similar game, honestly, to the Dallas one. This one was on Saturday, December 20th. Once again, the Sharks outshot their opponent in a close game, but were not able to convert in the moments that mattered, and once again lost by 2 goals, including an empty netter once again. You keep hearing me say once again because this game, like I said, was frustratingly similar. Unlike the game against Dallas, though, the Sharks actually led in this game. So they had a chance to hold on to a lead and blew it in the third period because Colin Graff was credited with a goober goal in the first 40 seconds of the third period to put the Sharks up 2-1. Definitely a goober goal, though, because with the Sharks getting the puck in the offensive zone off a turnover, Graff fired the puck off the post, and the rebound was trying to be recovered and brought in by Joey Decor, the goaltender, but was actually kicked in by a Seattle skate passing through the crease while Decor was trying to secure the rebound under him. He was like on his back and just trying to smush into a line, if you've seen that before, for those of you listening. I know you have, Corey. What is also unfortunate is Seattle's in this playoff hunt, and this stopped a 4-game losing streak for the Kraken. And we like when the Kraken are on losing streaks. So it wasn't the Sharks' best game. I think they played better in the game against Dallas, honestly, but it was also a very winnable game. And when we think about the Pacific and this Western wildcard race, or the Pacific as a whole, these games are going to matter. So while the Sharks could have won, like I said, they needed to finish this game, and shows that there's still improvements to be made. Even with the big improvements in November and December and this year as a whole, they still aren't quite there yet as a complete team. And Corey, I'm just going to jump right ahead to the next one quickly and then offer a pause for you to interject because it got worse. The third consecutive Sharks loss came in an absolute beatdown in Las Vegas against the Golden Knights. Final score 7-2. Askarov was knocked out of the game after just 15 minutes, having allowed 4 goals. Of course, that was on 16 shots faced. Doesn't make his stat line any better, but tells you if the Sharks have allowed more than a shot on goal per minute, that's not good. 16 shots on goal in only 15 minutes, less than a period. That is bad team defense. I got to hold them accountable. Yes, Askey could have made some saves on those goals, but I mean, that's just inexcusable. It's not his fault that he's getting absolutely shelled for the entire first period. And somehow Ned was actually worse in relief. He allowed 3 goals despite only facing 10 shots for the remaining 45 minutes of the game. So when we talk about Vegas not finishing games and it just being ugly, even when they're beating up on the Sharks, they had 16 shots on goal in 15 minutes and then 10 shots on goal in the remaining 45. Make it make sense. And the way it makes sense is they just took their foot off the gas and even still scored 3 more goals. It's just pitiful. Not a fun game to watch, and that's why I stopped when Vegas made it 5-0 in the first period. I was like, cool, Corey taught me this. This is GG, game over. We are losing by 5 in Vegas. Call it a good night. Don't get me wrong. Don't call it a good night. I just said good night. That's what I meant to say there. But don't get me wrong. I saw the game on in the background to witness both of the yeah, thanks. I'm gonna go take a nap. But I did see both of the Sharks goals on the night, and even though I wasn't actively paying attention to reduce my own suffering, and I had the game on mute, I did get to see the Sharks goals that were scored, so I didn't miss them. But final score 7-2, and it wasn't really that close, and it was just, oh man, why does this have to happen against Vegas? Like, if the Sharks are going to lay an absolute egg, it happens. Every team does it. But why does Vegas always have to just make me miserable? I swear that franchise exists just to cause me pain.
I promise you, I told you this one day. That's not going to be the case. I promise you. And maybe even a season, it's not going to be the case. You're going to be the ones absolutely stomping their shit in one day. I promise you, but we don't need to dwell on pain for very long. Plenty more to discuss.
Yeah, and so
because you did good things this week.
You mentioned it, Corey. Yeah, there were good things this week because the Sharks have been doing things in 3s. It's a magic number. Shout out to everyone who actually had a good childhood and knows that reference. But 3 straight losses is not 7 or 9 or 11 or any of the crazy numbers we've seen of prior years. So thank you for highlighting that earlier, Corey, because Vancouver victory is what I called this next game. A strong bounce back performance from the Sharks, who never trailed in the game despite a good effort from Vancouver, a very resurgent Vancouver nonetheless, ever since the Quinn Hughes trade. The updated top line in this game of Celebrini, Chernyshov, and Eklund each notched both a goal and an assist in the game for a total of 6 points. But it was Ryan Reeves whose goal was denied to open the scoring against Vegas. This time it stood. He was the first to score, forcing the puck across the goal line in close. The refs determined that the puck was not frozen or covered sufficiently and that Reeves did not commit goaltender interference to push the pad. If I'm being honest, the goal that was called back for the being played by a high stick against Vegas, I thought had a better chance of being a good goal than this one, but hey, what are you going to do? They didn't challenge it, and the goal was upheld. So either way, Revo on the board, and everybody rejoiced. And it was another John Klingberg blast from up top that extended the Sharks' lead up to 2-0, approximately 8 minutes into the game. And of course, who else? Another MacLeod a Klingy assist combo. Like Klingberg has revived his career ever since some injury-riddled seasons of the last couple of years. And when he's playing with Celebrini, it looks really good. Like the two of them are actually looking for each other on the ice. It's not often that you see your superstar top line center looking for a defenseman, but man, it is working, especially in the month of December. Overall, just an exciting first period, very back and forth, good chances going each way. Askarov playing well in this game. Worked out primarily in the Sharks' favor with a 2-1 lead after one, so they did concede a goal. It was a less eventful, at least on the scoreboard for the second period. In the second period, the Sharks did extend their lead, though, with an unassisted goal credited to William Eklund. Eki tipped the puck midair off a rebound from a shot in front off of Vancouver's goaltender in net. I think I have it written down here. I'm trying to remember who was in net that night for Vancouver. But no matter, because it was Marco Rossi accidentally knocking it home for another goal on this segment. Marco Rossi did redeem himself, though, scoring for the Knuckleheads less than a minute into the third period. So, it all evens out for them. But after that early third period Canucks goal cut the Sharks lead to 3-2. The Sharks also failed to convert on a 5-on-3 power play, allowing some more momentum to slip in the Canucks' favor. But fear not, never fear, because Igor is here, and he is here to stay. Like I said before, Chernyshov scoring on the 5-on-4 portion remaining from that power play to reignite the fans in the tank and reinstate the Sharks' 2-goal lead. Now the scoreboard is 4-2. Still, the Canucks never gave up and battled back with a shorthanded goal. Again, another issue for the Sharks. To make it 4-3 with less than 10 minutes remaining in regulation. And I was definitely, I'm always pissed about a shorthanded goal, but what adds to the frustration here is that the Sharks had not one but two shorthanded chances of their own just a couple minutes prior, but failed to convert. So I was like, come on, you're kidding me. We don't convert on our chance and then we give it up the other way on the shorthanded. Just absolutely brutal. But nonetheless, this is the positive portion of the subject. The segment. Why did I think subject? Anyway, the Sharks finished the game while getting an insurance goal from Celebrini. No, I'm not all right. I'm losing it with excitement and man, I'm running on vibes here. Coffee vibes, and apparently my tongue is just not wanting to say the right words.
Dom works 10.5 hours today, everybody. He's a little tired.
And is adjusting to his new prescription, so he feels a little cross-eyed for his glasses, just a tiny bit. So that's probably part of it. My vision is both more crisp and also less, if that makes sense. Anyone who wears glasses and has changed prescription.
God, I know exactly what you mean.
So that's probably part of the problem here. But anyway, I'll make it through. Just like the Sharks, they made it through. They got an insurance goal from Celebrini with less than 4 minutes to go. Then a Graf empty netter 30 seconds later. Final score, 6-3 against Vancouver. I mentioned these late goals because of the effort from Chernyshov, especially on that Celebrini one. He wins a puck battle in the corner and then fends off the defender, uses that big frame, puts a perfect pass so Celebrini can blast a one-timer home. You don't see Celebrini blasting it often. He's typically on the assist or doing something flashy, a wrist shot, creating space for himself. But this was a good one where he was just in the right position to blast off, and he did so. But yeah, 6-3 win over Vancouver. Good bounce back after those 3 straight losses. from the Sharks. And I think it was a good win because Vancouver was in this game. They were not this rolling over easy opponent. Even though the Sharks were in control the whole time, it was not like they were playing air. So in control against a team playing well, I think makes this a very high quality win for San Jose.
Yeah, definitely can never complain about those.
And what better way to follow up a high quality win is with a low quality one? I mean, I don't know what to call this one. We'll call it opportunistic once again, because remember back to the start of this segment not too long ago when I was ranting about Dallas's own opportunism. And remember in that same game how Nedeljkovic went on another misguided adventure, one of many this year, hence the term Nedventure. Well, the universe balanced the scales in some ways when the Sharks faced the Anaheim Ducks and further exasperated others, the adventure part at least.
I think the word you were looking for is exacerbated.
Exacerbated. Thank you. I don't know what I said, so
You said
no need to tell me what it
exasperated,
was.
which is what you are.
Well, at least I said a real word.
You did. It
it's
was
not
a
like
word.
record.
Yeah, truly.
But folks, there was an update at the end, Corey. So this number is slightly different than what you maybe were remembering. But the Sharks were outshot 42-13 in this game, but somehow scored 5 goals on those 13 shots on goal. So I mean, hey, it works. I mean, what more opportunistic than that? 5 off of 13. What is that percentage? Like, my brain isn't working for the quick maths, so let me just do that. That's 38% goals percentage on shots. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And on those, 11 Sharks got at least a point, too. It was coming from everybody. It wasn't just Macklin Celebrini. It wasn't just the top line. There was defensemen scoring goals in this game. I mean, sure, Celebrini led them with a goal and 2 assists on the night, but man, efficiency. But Corey, I know you saw parts of this game and probably wanted to jump in with a little something here from this Ducks game.
Well, I mean, I watched the end and I said that exact thing to you. Like 5 goals on 13 shots. You won this game. If you showed that to a Ducks fan, be like, or just anybody if you just showed somebody the shots, you'd be like, the Ducks lost this game. I would be so frustrated if I were a Ducks fan. And no offense to the Sharks, man, they made this hard for themselves to win it because, of course, you know, it's coming down to the wire. It's 5-3, comfortable lead. Then the Ducks make it close, and the Sharks have to fight to the bitter fucking end to actually win the game. But the fact that they were able to get 5 on 13, it's just not right. It's not right. I'm happy, but it's not right. The Sharks just make it hard to win sometimes.
It's not right. Well, and when I said this universal balancing, I remember back months ago now, the first time they played LA and outshot them by like 30, where it was like 35-10 on the shot count, but they lost to LA 4-3 in that game. And so this does feel like some karma balancing where the Sharks were switched places, where they were the team getting absolutely pummeled with shots, but having the better chances, or at least what I'm trying to say here is, yes, Askarov made lots of saves, and the Ducks could have very easily won this game based on some of those miraculous saves that Askarov, but also he wouldn't have had to make some of those saves, or they wouldn't have looked so incredible and crazy. If he hadn't left his net in the first place and been more disciplined, he wouldn't have to do these heroic things just to recover. And even with all of his heroics, he still gifted the Ducks a goal whilst trying to play the puck behind his own net in the first period. He allowed Team Quack to score their first goal of the game to make it 1-1 at this point after a Mario Ferraro goal to open the scoring. But man, it's just like Askarov, I have concerns. The upside in the top end talent is there, but he wants to go on an adventure too much. He doesn't want to just sit and be patient and stay on his main quest, and his off nights are really, really bad. There's The stats after his incredible November have really plummeted. He's well above 3 goals against average per game. His save percentage is below or just above, but I'm pretty sure it's below 900 to this point on the season. He still has a bunch of wins though. He's got 14 wins on the year. So man, I think there are Sharks fans and it's out there in the media and it's a reasonable question about whether or not Askarov is for sure the future. Uh, with
Nah, I
the
don't think
Sharks
there should be a.
drafting an insurance. Yeah, but the Sharks drafted an insurance policy in Ravensburg, and we're only halfway through the season, but I think we expect more from Askarov than what he has shown in December.
Which
Let's
is
put it
like,
that way.
I think a totally reasonable thing, but Askarov is also still a rookie technically. I mean, he's still learning, and goalies take a long time to like mold into that ideal specimen. Hell, Mackenzie Blackwood started off in New Jersey and he was ass. He was very ass there. And then he went to, San Jose, and now he's here in Colorado and is on track to win not a Vezina, but a Jennings trophy with Scott Wedgwood. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of time. It's okay. I think Askarov will get there.
And that's a good point. Even if their stats don't look good with us, the Sharks do have a way of rehabilitating goalies.
The Sharks also have terrible defense right now, so.
Yeah. Yep. And a bunch of them are in contract years, so it'll look very different next year for better or worse. But back to the positives. And that means back to Igor Chernyshov because he had a great feed pass to a driving Celebrini late in the first period to give the Sharks a 2-1 lead at intermission. Yeah, that was this game. 2-1 lead at intermission. And MacLeod just went straight to Dostal's right, firing it past the pad, the blocker, sorry. But yeah, I thought it was more credit goes to Igor for the perfect pass. They put it right on MacLeod's tape so he could fire.
Can I just bleed some of the Minnesota game into this right now because of what you just said?
Yeah.
Because Igor Chernyshov literally did the exact same thing in the Minnesota game, threaded an absolutely gorgeous pass. I remember texting you about it today. Gorgeous pass for Macklin Celebrini to finish it off. Igor Chernyshov has some wicked vision through the ice. I don't know how he's seeing some of these passes and executing them because this puck is going through multiple defenders, all for Macklin to tee it up with his signature sniping ability.
Yeah, and that's the thing we love to see. Macklin has been the facilitator for Will Smith, right? And the two of them together is electric, but he definitely sets up Will more than Will sets him up. I feel like at least in stride, right? And they can still find each other with these crazy passes where they just know where each other on the ice. But this was more of in flow, in rhythm. I said it before, it's dynamic, it's different. I don't want to say it's better, but man, it feels better. It just feels crisper. It feels like what I think or what I see when I watch the Avs top line cooking. So I mean, man, I said it. I'll say it again. I think Chernyshov should stay on this top line for the rest of the season. I think Will Smith should be there, and I want to see the three of them together. But if I had to choose, it might be tough, but I might pick Chernyshov. If I had to choose where only one of them could play on a line with Macklin, like I don't know why I'd have to choose, but this is all hypothetical anyway. There's a large part of me that's thinking what I've seen from Igor has been enough that I would possibly choose him, especially since, like I said, Will Smith can play center. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting moving forward. And that pass wasn't even my favorite goal, Corey, because Igor had a goal himself in the second period to put the Sharks up 3-1. My favorite series of this entire game. He goes to the corner on the forecheck, tries to center the puck. The Ducks regain possession for a moment, but lose it just as quickly when Dickinson steps up in the middle to prevent an Anaheim rush, kind of takes out two Anaheim players in one go as they all just kind of collided in the same spot and no one had the puck. And what do you know? Celebrini circling back, grabs the loose puck, finds Chernyshov alone, who moved without the puck, was just sitting alone, just standing right next to his buddy Dostal, just wide open on the doorstep. But instead of taking it first time when he's there one-on-one point blank, no. Actually, backing up. This Celebrini pass went through two defenders, so both of them can find each other and snipe it through the middle of the ice, through the defense. But the best part, now we're back in real time. Chernyshov takes the puck first on his forehand while he gets Dostal sliding left, then moves to the backhand and uses his backhand, top cheddar over Dostal's blocker, just moving him. Oh my God. What a pretty goal. I don't think it's in the highlights. It's not easy to find. I couldn't find it on Sportsnet isolated as just a single clip. So I'm going to have to grab that video. I know I sent you a video of my TV, Corey, but we have to find a way to clip it so we can attach it to this episode, because man, the series strong on the forecheck to start the play. Great movement without the puck to be in perfect position. And then the hands to deke Dostal point blank and close with that gorgeous goal. I mean, that my favorite goal of this whole 2-week period. Possibly, like, with all the goals, the comeback, everything, all the magic the Sharks have had in December, this might have been my favorite goal of the whole month, honestly. Like, it was that satisfying to watch. Am I crazy here, Corey? Am I overhyping this up? Am I glazing
You're absolutely insane. How dare you speak highly on a prospect who's earned his spot on the team? How dare you speak so well on a guy who had 7 points in 7 games and is threading the needle to your absolute best player on your team? That's so weird that you're glazing him for playing an absolutely incredible game. So stupid.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and that's the thing though, is he can create on his own, and that's what this goal is. Yes, we have multiple examples of him threading a needle and getting Macklin set up in the perfect spots, but he's finding the perfect spots, and in an isolated 1v1 situation, he won hands down against Dostal, and Dostal is really good goaltender. We saw it last year, and I don't want to guess when it comes to injuries, but THG said it, and it did make me wonder some. Speaking of which, I hope you were all right, my friend, with that coughing up a lung there.
I muted my mic so they didn't hear that. Don't sell me out like that.
No, accidental. How is it that I can hear you but the recording can't? I don't know. You'll have to teach me that another time.
And not in Discord is why.
Well, that's all. I just learned something new, folks. But anyway, back to Dostal, and THG said it, and so we don't want to guess with injuries, but it did make me wonder if Dostal is dealing with some nagging minor injury that we don't know about, just because he hasn't been nearly as impressive and is kind of aligned with this period while the Ducks have slipped and slid down the rankings. So I don't know. It's just a wondering more so than anything, because he's been not nearly as impressive as last year or as he was even to start the year. But to the other goals, Eklund made it 4-1 off another beautiful Macklin Celebrini pass from behind the net. And he was kind of doing like a spin around pass. So he was like far post to near post from behind the net. I don't know how he got it around the net with that angle, but it was perfect. And Eklund made sure to put it past Dostal and end his night. 4 goals allowed on only 9 shots faced. So, well, I guess that puts in perspective Ned's allowing 3 on 10. It wasn't as bad as this, and I think we all agree Dostal's better than Ned. So, I don't know. Interesting. The Ducks continued to be the better team all through the game, though, and eventually got goals for their efforts to make it 4-3 in the third, like you mentioned, Corey. But Zach Ostapchuk, a name we don't say often, got what was ultimately the game-winning goal with just over 6 minutes remaining in regulation. And I mention this because it was only his second career NHL goal and his first one for Team Teal. So congratulations, Zach Ostapchuk. He's been getting more minutes. I'm glad he has been, and he's also been really good in the face-off circle in some of these games. He's been put out there just for face-offs with different line combinations at times. So really good to see, really happy to see him making improvements so that that trade with sending Fabian Zetterlund up to Ottawa feels less bad, as time progresses. We've talked about it before. It's not one of Mike Grier's wins, but the better Stepchuk plays and as he continues to grow as a player, the less it feels like a loss of a trade. And finally, we've made it to the modern day, to today, New Year's Eve, the date that we were recording
I'm very
this.
sorry, Dom. I was going to say, I think we're a little low on time today. So same as the Avs against the Blues, we are technically recording this on a Wednesday. So I think we'll have to shelve it for next week, unfortunately.
All righty. Well, then I'll just say the title of the segment to keep you guys excited for more next time. Minnesweepa.
Minnesweepa.
You can read into that what you will.
I want you to have the full time available to you, but we're running a little short as the clock counts down to midnight, both figuratively and literally. So, Dom, do you have your 3 players of the week prepared?
Yes, the players of the 2 weeks. And
yes, I also
probably
said 2
guess
weeks.
Who.
I have a couple guesses, yes.
I did put them in order. I just had to run through my own little fun fact corner, if you will, so I'll do this quickly. Celebrini, 9-game point streak, 7 goals and 12 assists in that span. 7 of those 19 points, for those of you who don't do the quick math, have come in the Sharks' last 3 games and those wins against the Canucks, Ducks, and Wild. 62 points in 40 games this year. MacLeod is now, or has now, tied for 3rd all-time in NHL points scored in a calendar year by a teenager with 98. 98. Tied with Dale. Is it Hawerchuk?
Hawerchuk.
Like one of those W's that's a...
No.
Hawerchuk? Thank you. I'm sorry. I should know better, but it's one of those where I see W's and think they're pronounced like V's because German. But anyway, Dale Hawerchuk, 1982. MacLeod has tied him for 3rd all-time as a teenager with 98 points in the calendar year of 2025. Passing Steve Yzerman, 96 points in a calendar year in 84. Trailing only Crosby with 118 in 2006 and Gretzky with 140 in 1980. Talk about like great all-time players here. This isn't just another MacLeod being compared to the great stat. No, this is, once again, he is the next one. He is the greatest player that we have seen since Sidney Crosby, all due respect to McKinnon and Makar, and he is going to be the greatest player for the next 20 years. Then, of course, Chernyshov has been incredible. Yes, from both of us. Chernyshov has been incredible on Celebrini's wing with the chemistry frequently on full display, as we've mentioned. It's actually been 8 points in 7 games, counting today. With his first start having come against Calgary on December 16th, he has only failed to notch a point once since he has been playing in the NHL. He has notched a point in every game except for the bad team performance against Vegas, which is easy to write off. Simply put, I've said it once, I've said it a million times, he's here to stay in the NHL level, even when Smith and others are back from injury. My only question for next episode and for the future long-term is, what does that mean for Michael Misa, who could effectively redshirt this rookie season, having only played 7 games to this point? So the Sharks could basically kick out that entry-level contract a year and still have him under team control if they were to send him back to juniors or to Europe or something. So just an interesting think about that we don't have time for today. Excuse me. And then the 3 and 4 for stars of the week. I'm not sure which is the honorable mention and which is the 3rd star, but one of the bright points during the stretch of losses this week was Colin Graff, who scored a total of 5 goals with at least 1 in 4 consecutive games, 1 in each of the losses to Dallas, Seattle, and Vegas as well. So I believe he deserves some credit from when he was on the top line. And Will Eklund, who has also looked great in his time on the top line since when Warsofsky switched them and has been moving pieces around to try to find the best balanced line combination. He's been keeping Celebrini and Chernyshov together, of course, but that addition of Eklund has now has 4 points on the Sharks' current 3-game win streak and is on a 3-game point streak himself. So just to quickly recap everything I've said, The Sharks finished 8-7 in an up and down December, a perfect 3-0 in games that went to an overtime or a shootout. They lost Will Smith and Philip Kurashev to injuries, but had the greatest regular season comeback in franchise history in that same game versus the Penguins. Askarov regressed some from his impressive November, hampered by poor team defense and decision-making, much like Nedeljkovic, his backup, with playing the puck when maybe they shouldn't, or maybe they need to be more decisive. The previously mentioned injuries have also opened the door for Igor Chernyshov to make his NHL debut, which has now put forth a case to secure a spot on the top line with Celebrini, even when Will Smith returns. Will Smith and Kurashev are each expected to be out at least another 2 weeks, by the way, but are both expected back before the Olympics. The defense got more involved in December, led by John Klingberg, lest we forget his 6 goals and 3 assists in December. But the Sharks are not without their faults and still have plenty of potential resolutions they should focus on to start 2026 even better than they finished 2025. Thank you, Corey, for facilitating me going a little long there just to recap the month of December as a whole for the brightest points and the points to look forward to improving in next year.
Absolutely, Dom. Well, thank you for your time in the tank. Your 3 Avalanche players for the last 2 weeks, although technically it's 4. Number 3, we had Sammy Girard. Number 2, we had Scott Wedgwood. And number 1, I put Sam Malinsky / Brock Nelson because I could not pick between the two of them because they've just been lighting it up. And the Avalanche defense has really been one of the brightest points this year. It is solidified. It is the best. That's not even hyperbole, nor is it a subjective opinion. It is objective fact. Speaking of facts, I came across a fun factoid that the Rangers, who have been shut out the most this season in whole games, also failed to score in 76 of a possible 120 periods of hockey they've played this year, meaning they have a 63% chance of being shut out in any period. I don't know if that calculation included OT periods, but in my calculations, I did not, because I was curious about the Colorado Avalanche as a comparable. The Avalanche have played 114 periods of hockey, not including the St. Louis Blues game and not counting OTs, and they have only failed to score in a total of 26 of them, meaning that they only have a 22.8% chance of being shut out in any period. The even more fun part is that of all the games I went through, there have only been 2 games all season in which they had multiple regulation periods they didn't score in. They won both of those games 1-0. In every other game, they have scored in 2 periods or more.
Wow. Just another lens to look through the Avalanche dominance, everyone. And man, what is happening with the Rangers? They are either scoring in bunches or not scoring at all. That's an interesting case study that we'll have to return to next year.
Indeed. Well, everybody thought the Avalanche were going to slow down. I don't think they're going to slow down. Well, everyone, the clock is counting down to midnight. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode of the Captain Avalanche Fancast. If you have something you want to know about the Avalanche, Sharks, or just hockey in general, reach out to us on our socials or email, and we'll be happy to try and answer it. The best thing you can do if you like what we're doing here is to follow us on whatever platform you're using and to share this podcast everywhere you can with everyone you can. I'm Captain Avalanche Corey.
And I'm Dom from the Tank.
Check out our new episodes every Thursday. Happy New Year, everyone.